This episode of the Good Ship Brothership is brought to you by fat animals. Animal fats and oils are lipid materials derived from animals. Physically, oils are liquid at room temperature and fats are solid. Chemically, both fats and oils are composed of triglycerides, so says Wikipedia. Fat animals are cute and disarming, but you're also concerned for their health. If you want to save fat animals, go to www.chubbybunny.net.
Seriously. Hey, everybody. See, that... Anyway. I guess we should start. Hi, everybody. It's Grant and Jason back at it again for the fourth time now. Thank you to everybody who's been with us this far. It means the world to us that you've stuck with us, and we're just so proud of what this has become.
Especially, special thanks to Tom York and the other fellow from Radiohead.
Johnny Greenwood, Tom York, big fans of ours. And everybody.
And significant financial supporters as well.
Yes. Thank you so much to the government of Kuwait for pouring time, love, and money into our broadcast. Let's get started. Let's roll right into it. Now, we're drinking tea today, as we always do.
What type of tea is this?
It's Bourbon Street Vanilla tea.
It's just delightful.
It's
a rooibos. It's just a very smooth, sweet tea.
Now, Jason, before we do the theme music, I don't know if you remember this or not, but for last week's episode, we snuck in a little secret message.
Mm-hmm.
And one person answered that secret message, and that person was our very good friend Emerson Gabber.
I forgot about that.
Who messaged us and confessed to us that he is in fact a jiggly jolly gentleman, which only Emerson and us will understand. So with that in mind, Emerson, today's theme song is going out directly to you, and this is a song we wrote about you. Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Emerson
Was looking kinda dumb with a finger and a thumb in the shape of an L on his forehead. Well, years stop coming and they don't stop coming. Fed to the rules and they hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb. So much to do, so much to say. So what's wrong with taking the back streets? If you don't go, you'll never
Emerson.
shine. If you don't, Emerson. Okay, everybody.
You really spiked the levels on
I know
that
it got pretty loud. But we're back, we're here, and we're ready to go. This week, we're discussing two very... Can I just say? Yeah, we're wearing white. Okay, Jason, here's a stupid thing. The only thing... We're both wearing white wife beaters again. Not in the sense of beating a white wife, but white wife beaters. I guess there really only is the white wife beater.
Yeah,
you never
a tank top.
Don't hear about a black wife beater.
Well, it's just a tank top.
Yeah, I'm just, I just think that's interesting, politically speaking. I'm very excited about this episode, actually, because you know what?
Yeah.
A thought occurred to me.
What thought occurred to you?
You and I have not talked about either of these two things at all.
No, I know. Well,
so
just a teeny bit.
All of these thoughts, though, pretty much.
Yeah.
All these thoughts are pretty fresh.
I like the idea that every time we drink tea, you gotta go.
This is how I drink tea. Okay, so the two things that we'll be discussing today are the video game And we'll get into this whole thing, I'm sure.
It is a video game.
The video game 3/4 Home and the brand new Imagine Dragons single, Believer. So, without further ado, let's flip the puppet.
I love to flip the puppet.
Okay, should we say face up is
3/4 home.
3/4 home, and okay, so puppet is flip, face up it is 3/4 home.
Good.
3/4 home.
I have never made more notes than I did for 3/4 home, by the way.
Oh.
And yet I'm looking up the Wikipedia page because I just realized I don't remember who developed it.
So while you're doing that, I'll just explain. I was talking to my good buddy Lucas today about the upcoming podcast. He asked me, what I was going to be doing later today. By the way, we should mention, just for continuity's sake, it's Super Bowl Sunday today as we record this. And we just saw Lady Gaga in her Power Rangers outfit swinging around on some Mad Max props. And we were saying how much we were hoping the left shark was going to make an appearance in that. And how, that would be legendary if that happened. But anyway.
Maybe it did. We went down before she was done.
Lucas asked me what I was doing this evening, told him I was doing this, and he said, "Oh, what will you be reviewing?" I said, "Well, we're going to review the new Imagine Dragons single," and he said, "I didn't know that was out," and then I said, "We're also going to be reviewing a game called 3/4 Home," and I briefly explained to him what it was, and he seemed kind of interested, and I said, "Then you should listen to the show." So, Lucas, if you're listening to this, I love you.
You think he's going to listen to it?
I don't know.
I give him a 70% chance of listening to it.
I like him.
He's a charming young man.
He's so charming. It's almost insulting. So 3/4 Home is interesting. In my head, I want to refer to it as like a visual novel, but I realize how stupid that is.
That's what Wikipedia says it is.
Because novels are visual.
No, but a visual novel, it's more like a graphic novel is more like a visual novel.
So I'm gonna explain
interactive novel.
I'm gonna explain it in real dumbed down terms. Oh, whoa!
You're gonna need to dumb down those terms.
So basically, it starts off. You're in a car in a cornfield, and it's like black silk. I just got a dry swallow out of nowhere. It's kind of like black silhouettes of these corn stalks, and it's very stylized. You're in this sedan looking thing, and you hold down one of the buttons to drive forward, and then when you release that button, the dialogue is paused.
We should say that we both played the extended edition on the PlayStation Vita because we're kind of cool like that.
Yeah, we're hipsters.
Yeah. Get out of here, Steam.
So as you're going along, and then your character Kelly is having phone conversations with her family, and it's during a storm and stuff like that. So there's some tension from that as well. And you're choosing different dialogue options, which take you to different conversations and stuff like that with her mom, her dad, and her brother Ben.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And typically one thing that I do think is cool is a lot of times you'll have, I don't know, like 3 dialogue options, but normally you're saying the same thing just in different ways.
Yep. Yeah,
so you're either like, you're rude, you're kind of like, you can kind of beat around the bush a little bit, or you can be really polite.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like her dad has a drinking problem, so she could be like, how many of you had, Dad? Or like, I'm gonna make you stop or something. Like,
yeah.
So there are all different ways to say mostly the same thing, which is kind of a cool little twist.
Yeah. So anyway, that's basically all the game is. You're holding down this one button to drive forward, and then you're selecting different answers to stuff your family throws at you.
Yeah.
So, should we do this as a bit of a back and forth, or should I go and put down my thoughts on it, and then you go?
You do that, and if I want to interject, I'll raise a finger, and then we can like interject with each other's. But we'll kind of mostly have you talk now.
3/4 Home as a game is something that you have, something that gets built up a lot around like hipster game circles,
Yeah.
And there's nothing, that's fine, my overall thoughts on it are that it's an excellent prototype for things to come. I would love to see this become an entire genre of games, and I feel like this is the Adam and Eve of that sort of thing. I'm sure there are others.
There are
but
others,
It's
yeah.
the first that's really become, widely recognized or known or played. It's got a lo-fi indie kind of aesthetic to it that it really makes it work, and it's never intrusive, and it's always decently atmospheric. I'd say the actual graphics take up like 50%, the top 50% of the screen, right?
Yeah,
Your car
probably.
driving along the road and there's corn stalks, and then she'll say, or her parents will ask, "Where are you now?" And she'll say, "I'm by the old high school." And then you pass this, silhouette of a new school, and then they talk about, how much it's expanded since then or whatever. So I found that to be quite nice. The aesthetic was simple. It did what it needed to do. It never took my breath away by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not in any way a story or a game experience that is meant to take your breath away.
Yeah. And I'll have more thoughts on the look, because I do think goods and bads.
Yeah, I think the soundscape is really, really nice. Could be a little overpowering at times. Speaking of which, Jason's just farted. Anyway, she's driving. Your character's driving through a thunderstorm, and I thought that the thunderstorm itself could be a little loud, and it would have been nice because it's just a generic thunderstorm sound. It would have been more immersive if you'd been hearing a thunderstorm from the inside of a car,
Yeah.
So the rain hitting the windshield and maybe your wipers going or something like that. That's just like a little touch that would have been really cool.
I think it serves the sound like that kind of serves to make you realize, as much as you're picking dialogue for Kelly, one of the things I did really like was that you are not Kelly.
Yeah.
This game, I don't think this is a spoiler. This game only has one ending, and there's not a ton you can do to really change what happens. You're still viewing it from the outside, but you can kind of nudge the story in different directions.
Yeah, but then apart from that, there's one point where there's an alarm sound that comes in, and it sounds it's not the alarm sound. It's a more musical version of that, of the actual sound itself, and I really liked it. I thought it worked very nicely to build a little bit of tension in a game that otherwise has no tension. One major gripe I have with it is the controls. You've got to always be holding down the one bumper or the trigger button to move the car forward, and maybe it's just a Vita thing, but on the Vita, I was like your hand gets sore. And the game's not even 2 hours long.
Yeah.
But you're still holding down that button for that whole length of time.
Yeah.
And I was just, I didn't like it. And you have to press one button to advance dialogue that's been spoken by somebody you're on the phone with, and you have to press another button to select your dialogue.
Yeah.
And if you accidentally hit one's square, one's X. So if you hit square, your mom says something, you hit square, it goes to your reply. If you hit square again, it goes back to what your mom said. And I did that all the time, and it did pull me out of the game on a number of occasions, just because I was like, this again.
But here's what I think. So I'm just thinking about this now. In terms of the square and X, if they unified it and made it one button, you might end up just kind of pressing X or square automatically, and then end up skipping through your dialogue. So I actually think it's the lesser of two evils. You don't end up skipping stuff accidentally.
Maybe they do have a timer on. It's weird. They've got a timer on dialogue that's spoken to you, but there's no timer for the stuff that you say. So you can still accidentally skip through what you're saying. You just can't accidentally skip through what the other characters are saying. And for the most part, too, props. I thought that the dialogue timer on the
was well timed.
It was well timed. It seemed to end right when I was done reading.
But the other thing about the controls, so I should say I played this game a year ago for the first time on a plane ride, with a very sick brother beside me. And then I replayed the whole thing again just a couple weeks ago. And the first time I played it, I really didn't like having to hold down R to keep driving. And even this time, I was at first. And then as I was making my notes, I thought, wait a second, I actually really like that mechanic, and here's why. you become an active participant holding down the button. It's like the beauty of a book is that as soon as you stop reading, the whole thing stops. If you stop watching a movie, the movie's still playing. Even with a game, like, stuff's still going on around you normally.
Yeah.
But with this, you have to, like, be engaged, quote unquote.
There has to be a reason why they did that, and my biggest gripe with them doing that is just that it is the bumper button, and that your index finger is wrapped around the thing.
I even wish you could have used, like, the left or right bumper so that you could, like, be switching fingers or something.
Yeah.
Overall, I actually kind of liked the way it made me feel like,
I can see what you mean.
You know, you got to keep giving input.
Yeah.
But, you know, your finger gets sore.
Yeah. I thought now, I'm moving on now from the game itself, just more story elements. I thought the story itself it's a very grounded story. There was nothing remarkable about it. There's something's been swept under the rug.
There's a history.
Some incidents taking place, and your character doesn't really want to talk about it. Nobody really seems to want to talk about it, and that's fine. But it's at the end, I felt like the end of the game and the end of the add-on, the epilogue, it did lack some sort of closure to me. And this is coming from, I really am a big fan. The book I'm writing right now is one of those books where you're dropped into the middle of an existing situation. Because I feel like, unless, like, so say, you know, there are books, movies, games where you're dropped in the middle of a situation. And then there's stuff like, say, Lord of the Rings, where it starts from bam, you know, and you're there from
nothing's happening at the beginning, nothing's really happening at the end.
Yeah, it encompasses the whole of an adventure or happening of some sort. And this drops you in the middle, and then drops you out again, frankly, before the end. And I thought that was fine, but it could have been done better. I think the writing is good, but it's far from great. There's a couple pieces of clunky exposition, and I would have liked to have had even there's Dad.
Something cool just happened in the Super Bowl.
Excited about a tackle up
there. It
is
9:01 p.m. So if you know what happened then, something cool maybe happened.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, I would have liked some sort of device maybe that could have narrated a little bit, maybe not a cutscene, but
just like a monologue.
Maybe monologue, maybe like what am I thinking of? Like a slideshow of different images of, like, it doesn't even necessarily. It could just be a tone setter, you know.
Yeah.
Say as she's driving past that high school I mentioned. Say it's just, you know, a couple
silhouette
images of her like looking past it, seeing it as it was, and
that
seeing
could
it now.
Be cool.
Something like that just might give it a little more depth.
Yeah.
Because as it is now, it's a lot like just reading a script, right? Which is fine. The characters are all fine, you know.
Yeah. The only character I really liked was Ben.
Exactly. He's the only one. He's the only one who I have questions about. Mm-hmm. He's really intelligent. He's clearly very intelligent, but he does have issues. He seems like he could be developmentally challenged in some way.
He's really like drawn into himself.
Yeah, but he still seems like a little kid too.
Yeah.
He was by far the most well realized of all the characters.
And I would almost argue he was the main character in a way. He wasn't the protagonist, but he was like kind of the person the story's focused around to an extent, and he narrates a lot of the story too.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I would like to say before, well, we'll talk about story, and then I'll just give a couple brief thoughts on how the game looks after.
Yeah, my closing thought. My closing thoughts are that it's a good game. It's by no means a great game. The story that it tells isn't necessarily a great story. The way it tells it isn't necessarily great. It's a relatable story, I think, for a lot of people. And so I give it kudos for that. And the characters are believable. Mm-hmm. They're just not
remarkable.
They aren't characters who will be sticking with me.
Yeah.
You know. I think it had good moments, and I'd love to see more games like that.
and there are more really that we just haven't played.
Well, let me stop you there. What I think I mean by that is I'd like to see this guy go on and author more stuff like that, because I'm pretty sure it's just one dude who made this.
I'm not sure. Let me look it up.
Well, I watched the credits, and I think it was just one guy. But I'd like to see more games like this being made by the same dude.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's a format that has a ton of promise for, like, say, an iPad. Mm-hmm. I think that would be super cool to get some sort of new crossover medium going. And it's kind of weird and surprising.
There's a lot of stuff like that, like weird story-driven games on iPad.
Yeah, but it's strange to me that they haven't taken off or hooked onto the mainstream in some way.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't hooked onto the mainstream.
It seems like such a futuristic thing that people would be all of it. It seems like a Star Trek sort of, how they'd show their interpretation of like what a novel would be, and
yeah, I guess so.
But whatever. Anyway, your thoughts.
Look up bracket-games.com. It's not loading on here.
Is that spelled out?
Bracket-games.com. Yeah. So I actually think that the story is good, and I think the dialogue is very good.
Is this how you spell it?
Yeah, but without the spaces in between the hyphen. Like web domain names don't have spaces.
Oh, well, you didn't really say it was a web game. Okay. I thought you were telling me the developer.
It's Bracket Games is the developer.
Okay, go ahead.
Having now played the game twice, I was a bit disappointed by how linear the story is. I understand that, like, it's Kelly's story, like what I said earlier, but still I found the dialogue choices almost always lead to a few lines differently, and then someone just segues back to the main story thread, which is okay, I guess, but I don't know. I just kind of think that if you're going to give me that much choice, like, make it do something a little bit more. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's a good way to put it. You can't really change the story, but you can nudge it a little bit, which is kind of cool, I guess, but, like, I think that both sound design and visual design make the game much better and are the reasons why it wouldn't work as like a novella.
Yeah.
I think it really provides like a sense of immersion. Excuse me.
Wow.
Oh, geez, we're getting gassy up in here.
I swear that was not. I'm not
forced. Okay,
that was not forced.
So I think like the way, she says, I see the old high school, or she's going through windmills, and like the screen flickers when there's lightning, and you hear the tornado siren thing go off. Like it all just makes it feel a little bit more convincing, I guess.
Yep.
And it adds an extra layer that it wouldn't have if it were just written. If you're gonna play it, please use decent headphones. I think that makes all the difference.
I didn't.
Grant didn't. My favorite part of the story by far is in the middle. I don't think this is spoilers. In the middle, her brother reads a story he's written.
Is that avoidable?
No.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge. And I thought it was like a beautiful story, and I think it would make a good story just on its own. I think it's cool, like just a cool little nod. It ties in the title of the game, the subtitle of the game, and the wind will lift away our rot. And it was like a beautiful little, almost allegorical story that I found super interesting.
One of the things I felt like the game and the narrative therein was trying to be allegorical and trying to reach for something like a bigger picture told within the smaller picture, but I felt like it never quite got there. It wasn't quite daring enough to be that
explicit in its
not that explicit, that surreal, or that
And I think now obviously we don't like rate games, maybe we should, but without his story, Ben's little story in the middle, I would say I would go down like from a 8.5 out of 10 to like a 7 out of 10. Like I think that totally made the experience for me.
I thought, really? Wow.
Oh okay. Yeah, I like loved his story.
Okay.
And when I went back to play it again, like just a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, I can't wait to get to that story just to read it again. I really liked it.
Because when I was reading through it, I was like, I'd change that grammatically. I was reading a couple things. I was like,
but that's what I mean. It feels real. Like it's not beautifully written, but it is beautiful. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and I would have changed it, but then again, maybe that's just my style. My style is very different from what's in the game.
The epilogue, to touch on that, is a fine addition. Like, you only get it if you buy the extended edition or buy it separately.
It's a phone call with your mother.
Yeah. But I didn't really like it, to be honest. I think it went, not that it went like too meta, but it just didn't do it in the right ways and kind of didn't really make that much sense to me. And it did nothing to answer questions. Like,
it really didn't.
Like, it just seemed, it didn't solve any problems.
It was a if we can use this term that we hate, it was a vignette.
Yeah, which is fine, but I don't know.
And it is a relatively, to my knowledge, untested medium. The kind of graphic sort of interface, and
you just don't have that much experience with them.
But if I was going about making one, I'd have a lot of ideas to try and stuff like that. So I felt it was also totally tacked on. And added no narrative closure to either side of it. Didn't answer the questions that the first half posed.
Yeah. I mean, if you had it, like if you bought the extended edition, play it. But if you didn't, like, I wouldn't even bother paying extra for it, honestly.
No, it's not even a half hour, I don't think. It's maybe 10 minutes, 15.
And I think the art is cool and, like, appropriate, but at the same time, it's not played out, but, like, you look at a game like The Unfinished Swan or Limbo that do that minimalist black and white, well, mostly black and white for The Unfinished Swan.
I even got tired of it in Limbo.
And they just really do it better. But I think they just do it better than 3/4 Home does. 3/4 Home's like a little flat. Still good.
3/4 Home is a little flat, and it kind of crosses the line from melancholic, which the game very much is, to like gloomy. Yeah. Which the game isn't.
Yeah, true.
And that would be one thing I felt was kind of a weird or questionable decision. A little bit of color wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah, it could have been interesting if there was like little bits of yellow on the corn stalks.
Yeah, or something like that. Or just a nice muted color palette.
I think I would call the game great. Like, I think it's a story that's like, just, it's not, I think too often, you know, like we play games and we're like, wow, that had a great story for a game. And then it's like, yeah, but if it were in a movie or something, it would be like not that good. Yeah. This game, I don't think it needs to make excuses for its medium. I think it's just a really good story, and games happen to be the best way to tell it, which is awesome.
Are you done then?
Yep.
So in closing, it looks like Bracket Games got a bunch of stuff like this. This one's called Enter Stage Right. And it says, Enter Stage Right is a short game about anxiety. It is a game without words. It was made in 5 days.
And maybe, I wonder if you can download it for free. Hit download for Windows.
No, I'm not gonna right now. And then they've got one called Azimuth, an alien abduction mystery adventure game following two siblings as they search for their brother in the humid haze of 1970s Alabama.
So I guess we should have done our research.
They make some, like, and there's 3/4 Home, which I accidentally clicked on.
Yeah, so I think there are more games like this out there than you think.
This one's called Letters to Babylon. Letters to Babylon, our second twine, follows a character named Chris. During an inpatient stay at a residential treatment facility, Chris is admitted to the facility at the beginning of the game under unexplained circumstances. The semi-autobiographical narrative follows Chris during the 5-week stay in the facility, with the player having a significant influence on the events of the game as well as on the nuance of what is really going on. The character exercises this mainly by either responding or discarding letters from Chris's father and Chris's boyfriend, Ian, because you gotta appeal to the broadest demographic. The narrative of the game changes dynamically based on the player's choice regarding these and other decisions. So that sounds cool. I'd play that too. It sounds like they got they've got, and then there's two more. This one's called Out. This one actually looks really cool. Out is a twine that follows an unnamed protagonist through a narrative written to evoke the process of turmoil of coming out and the horrible damage that keeping secrets about yourself and your experiences can cause. And that one looks quite gorgeous too, just judging by that.
I would like to say, write down the time code just in case, but we won't have to redact this. I'm going to be good. I think that people can make games about whatever they want. And if you want to make a game about coming out, like, personally, I think that's fine and awesome. But at the same time, off the top of my head, I can think of 3 games made within the last couple of years that are basically about the same, like, that exact same thing.
Well, we're not gonna have to redact this. It's completely trendy,
which is fine, but
it's supposed to be culturally relevant, but it's boring. And being gay isn't isn't exciting anymore. Like, it's not.
Yeah, and please let me emphasize, I do, like, really, seriously, I'm not just saying this to be like, I have no problem with someone making a game about that.
Yeah, no.
But it's the exact same thing as, like,
It's
10 years ago, there were, like, all these World War II shooters. It's like, I'm not against and if you want to make that, if that's your artistic expression, fine, but...
Yeah, it's
just a lot of
it's
them.
not to do with the actual subject itself. It's to do with how tired it is.
Like, we had Gone Home, and we had Coming Out Simulator, and we have, what was that game called? Out? Was that what it was
Out
called?
and well, I guess the other one's not about coming
That's
out.
kind of
It's
a spoiler, don't
just
say
somebody
that.
who is gay.
We just lost about a minute, so...
Just in the middle of that controversial topic, during which we decided that we weren't talking about anything that was really important to the discussion, the audio dropped out.
So
However, now I think we have an understanding of why it's happening. And it's because the recording's catching up to what we've done or something, and it's like it's recording like a minute behind what we're actually saying. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep doing more research. I changed some settings today, so hopefully it's good from now on. Anyway, on from the topic, the incendiary topic that we were talking about, and on to Imagine Dragons' new single. Can you stop? That's quite annoying. Nobody wanted to hear that. To Imagine Dragons' new single, Believer. You and I are not massive Imagine Dragons fans by any stretch.
Don't hate them, though.
However, I would contend still that Radioactive is a great song.
It's on my workout playlist.
And I'd also say that whole album, Night Visions, is actually a good album. Yeah. Now, what I forgot was that they actually released another album called Smoke Plus Mirrors in 2015. So their output's actually not half bad. So, you know.
They got lots of EPs that they're putting out, too. They put out a Shots EP in 2015.
Oh, what?
The Shots in 2015. The Archive in 2013.
I thought you were saying Shants, like a Mennonite from... I was like, Shants? What? Why did you just stroke the teapot?
Well, I was gonna pick it up to get more, and I wanted
to feel like fondled it.
I decided not to.
Jason has this thing.
It was a gentle touch.
Jason just has to touch things, and it's really creepy, and I dislike it. But anyway, so they Night Visions from 2012, which had Radioactive and a whole bunch of stuff on it. Largely a great album, I'd say. A very interesting album. Showed a lot of promise. Yeah, from a new band.
Good.
Smoke Plus Mirrors. I never even listened to the whole thing because it is, as Donald Trump would say, huge. This one's got 13 tracks, but there is I know there's a version that's like twice that. What?
I just saw in the people I was supposed to search for. There's the if you're reading this, it's too late. And I had seen a meme that was if you're reading this, my name Jeff.
I did see that as well.
In the same font.
Yeah, my name Jeff. But anyway, but I don't think Smoke Plus Mirrors is a bad album. I think it was an interesting album. And then they've just...
I thought you just said you hadn't listened to it.
From what I've heard, though.
Oh, okay.
It's not a bad album.
I have no opinion on it.
Randy was real big into it for a while, I know. But
he also likes 21 Pilots, though, so clearly his opinion is not valid.
He is weak. Here's what I've got to say about 21 Pilots. Nothing against them. They're fans, though. Oh, boy. They are salty and ready to go. All you have to do is post a meme about 21 Pilots on your Facebook or anywhere, really. You will find out who in your friends list likes 21 Pilots because they'll all be like,
"That's not true. That's not fair. 21 Pilots are great. Why are you saying that? Why are you hating, man?"
And I'm like, I just wanted to see you get your panties in a bunch.
So I stole this meme from you, Grant. Mm-hmm. But there's a meme that was like, there's a 21 Pilots lyric that's like, I wish I had a better voice that sang some better songs. And then I'm like, yeah. I wish you did too.
Yeah.
I think I told you this. Maybe this is a bad person kind of thing to do. I joined a 21 Pilots fan group with like a lot of members and then dropped that meme and then just left and then just monitored the reaction from the outside. It was good.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're unreal. Anyway, 21 Pilots, though, they aren't Imagine Dragons.
No. Surprise.
Would you take 21 Pilots or Imagine Dragons?
I haven't listened to enough 21 Pilots to be honest with you.
One of my biggest beefs is just it's so sterile and so polished. And that's one of my beefs with Imagine Dragons. Their production is just like it's too much, frankly. I've heard a lot of bands like The National, who I really admire and love, who have this process where you go into the studio, you make the song, you add tons and tons of instrumentation, tons of layers, tons of effects to it, and then you strip away all that's not necessary.
Like Michelangelo.
And you're left with a great, well-instrumented song, you know. Imagine Dragons seem like they've done the first step of that. They've just piled on everything they can think of. And that works for some people, and it really doesn't work for me because it has no personality. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. It's stupid. Anyway, my first thought when listening to Believer, when I hit the first chorus, was their singer will never, ever...
Wait, play that live. Or
he will never be able to sing that live. That's exactly what I thought. Because I got pretty into Night Visions, I watched a lot of live shows of Imagine Dragons. The guy has trouble hitting the notes in Radioactive live sometimes. He is never in a trillion years going to be able to hit that note live. And I mean, that's your prerogative, I guess. But somehow going, whoa, you make me up. Like, he's not.
I feel like they're more of a studio band, though.
Oh, for sure.
Which, not
for sure.
That.
His little rapping flow, his white boy rapping, was fairly on point.
It was good.
It was fairly
not
on point.
As good as NF, but still pretty good.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm just not a huge fan of the guy's voice in general now. I don't know if I OD'd on it or what, but his voice is just kind of like not singery.
I know what you mean though. It's not musical. Like, it's not even bad. It's like
it's just a voice kind of thing. I thought the lyrics had a real veneer of depth and poetry, but there was nothing there.
I was broken from a young age.
Coming out of it, going in, I wanted to believe. Coming out, not a believer.
I was broken.
You really steamrolled how I was going to drop that.
That's because I know you're better than me, and I don't want everyone else to know it.
And I do have the lyrics here, too. I was broken from a young age, taking my soul into the masses, writing down my poems for the few, which made me laugh because you're super famous.
It's just write down my poems for the few.
Write down my poems for the few. That looked at me, took to me, shook me, feeling me, singing from heartache, from the pain, take up my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the pain.
Pain,
you make me. Yeah. The chorus is also a complete cheap shot because it's just it is.
I really like that minor shift with the second believer. I was like, that kind of grooves.
Yeah. That's a very Imagine Dragons-y sort of thing. The chorus is groovy and stuff, but it's not interesting by any stretch. You know what an interesting chorus is? Somebody told me you had a boyfriend.
That's a very somebody wants.
That's also an interesting chorus. No, seriously though, that Killer song, that's an interesting chorus. Yeah. Everybody knows it. Yeah. And it's still interesting and artistic. It's not artistic, really. That's not really artistic. And I also said down here, flame, vein, brain, and I think he repeats those things. So here we go. Oh, that's just
repetition is okay.
Pain, veins, brain. Well, also one thing that really made me giggle a little bit is he starts the song off first things first,
second thing second, third.
And
thing
then he
third.
goes third. Yeah, he goes second thing second. Where's that? Oh yeah, there it is. That stanza. Second thing second, third thing third.
What would you think would be next?
Last things last, not fourth thing fourth, because that doesn't float. I was like, he tried to put some depth in there.
Not every song has to have a cool gimmick like that, though.
Cool, like, it's just... That would be nice when you're singing, though, because you'd never forget the first lyric.
You might be like, third thing's third.
And everybody's like, boo, he can't count, boo. Yeah. The last thing last, by the grace of the fire and the flames, you're the face of the future, the blood in my veins.
Nice reference to Herman Lee, though.
Yeah. But they never did ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up and it rained down like pain.
I actually thought he had a sweet flow for that, though.
Oh, yeah, he does. It's just that the words don't mean anything.
No.
And they seem like they should, and they seem like he thinks they do, but they don't.
It's like, on a much lesser scale, what we've said before with Led Zeppelin. You listen to it and you're like, man, Robert Plant was a great writer. But then you go on like azlyrics.com.
The difference is Robert Plant could really sing.
Oh, yeah.
This guy can't. Yeah. So
but he still sings like he believes.
Instead of Imagine Dragons, they feel like they want to go in a whole bunch of directions at once, you know? They feel like they want to go into a rock direction with some of the stuff they do, especially their guitarist. I think their guitarist is a decent guitarist and a really interesting musician. He's never given a appropriate venue to express that, though, in their songs.
They're not a guitar-oriented band.
No, that's what I'm saying. They feel like they want to go in a rock direction, they feel like they want to go to a hip-hop direction, and they feel like they want to go in a pop direction.
Yeah.
And that could work if you meld those things together and make, one solid product out of that. But instead, they've made a patchwork. They've taken, we're going to have a rap pre-chorus, and the rock guitar is going to come in for like a bar here, and then we're going to have a pop chorus. And they just stitch those things together, and they didn't name their band Linkin Park.
Now, are you finished?
Yep.
Okay. Let me begin
I just spilled tea all down my white wife beater.
That's okay, it's just a badge of honor. So, let me begin my brief analysis of this by posing a question, which I've only thought of now.
It's quite uncomfortable.
And this is a serious question. We're not paid to say this, I promise. Why would I listen to Imagine Dragons when I could listen to Radiohead?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna dissect this now.
Hey, Johnny. Johnny Greenwood. Not Johnny Gabbard.
Well, both. Hey, Johnny.
Mr. York. It's a pleasure to have your listenership.
And again, shout out to the government of Kuwait. Speaking of Kuwait, this music had a real desert vibe. Not really.
Why do I have to pee every... Well,
because you just drank like 3 cups of tea.
I had to ship out a deuce last time.
So, you can hold on to it. It'll just be like another 5-10 minutes, I think. So, the song I thought was decent, but not that good.
It was pure decency.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the whole thing about it reeked of like, I kind of disagree with you that it was really overproduced. I thought that it was quite well produced. And I mean, you could say it's overproduced. Like, I mean, I just don't really like that kind of music. But listening to it, I had open back, full, like, over-ear Sennheisers. And it has, like, a really nice sound stage.
Oh,
like, a good lush.
Their
like,
music does.
Dynamic. Like, it was a big sound. In a good way. I thought that was well done. I think... What?
What do you mean, what?
What did you point at?
Jason, we've had this system
Okay,
since
well,
we
you just
started...
went like this.
You
gotta hold up a finger if you want to say that.
Okay, everybody, we have this system here. It's time to take down the artifice. Don't bite my paper, you son of a gun! That's my note page.
Fruit for the millions.
What is wrong with you? I wish you had braces on again. We have this system when we're recording that if somebody's talking about something like Jason just was, and you have a thought that can contribute to that topic, you hold up a finger till your brother notices, they nod at you while they're talking, and then at some point they pause and you can jump in and start to speak. I just held up my finger and Jason thought I was pointing at the ceiling.
He did a booger flick. Like, he didn't hold it up, he just went like...
I held up...
Can you hear this?
No, they can't hear that. I held up my finger. And you're like, what? A what? And now the podcast is ground to a halt. We're burning time. We said it was going to be under 50 minutes. You're like, oh, it'll be a half hour. We're at 43 minutes and 35 seconds right now. It'll be a little less once we trim a little off the front. Anyway, what I was going to say is the difference between a really well-produced, layered song, like Pink Floyd, The National, Radiohead, yeah, that's actually a great example, is that when you listen to those songs or those albums, you're finding new stuff every time, right? The key difference between that and Imagine Dragons is it's just this solid brick of sound.
Yeah.
They're clubbing you over the head with it. You can't, for lack of a better word, penetrate it.
So the way I first listened to this song was I listened to it just like no lyrics or anything, and then I listened to it like right again with lyrics.
Exactly what I did.
And right off the bat, I was like, man, this is bad writing. So I concur with what you said. There were a couple lines, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I don't know. It's like finding one nice leaf
Like,
of lettuce, and then the rest of it's just an iceberg.
Like, what's it
salad,
about?
you
Like,
know?
what's the song even about?
It's
like
first things, second things, believer,
it's just,
pain.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
let's
Like,
see.
I guess it could be about finding beauty in the pain, but what's interesting about that? Like, I understand the draw as a writer, because of course I write songs and stuff. I think
Let
pretty
me
much
read
everybody.
the chorus.
There's a draw to writing, to painting with broad strokes. A band like U2 has done that with great success, obviously.
Yeah.
Where they make these vaguely vague songs that can be interpreted a number of different ways, and mean different things to different people at different times. And I think that that's really cool, and the songs then become multifaceted in the hands of the listener.
So
this is just mush.
Here's the chorus. Pain, you made me a believer. Pain, you break me down, you build me up. Believer.
What are you believing
Pain.
in?
I let the bullets fly. Oh, let them rain. My luck, my love, my God, they came from pain. You made me a believer.
Yeah, it's just not about anything.
So I would say it's, in my opinion, a mediocre song. It's like maybe it'll make it onto my playlist.
And this is something that bothers me too. Is mediocre really mediocre, or is it bad? Like, that's the thing.
I don't think it's bad.
The objectivity of art in that regard, like when somebody goes to see a movie, you say, how was it? It was fine. Would you say I should go watch it? Sure. Like, can we waste our time on mediocre songs, mediocre movies, mediocre albums, mediocre art, or do you want to actually listen to something that is going to stick with you? And
it's like
what
it's like the turkey of the music world. So I enjoy turkey, and it's quite good and quite festive, and when it's there I eat it and I'm like, pretty good. But you know what I never think? Man, I sure could go for some turkey right about now.
I sometimes do think
Really?
that, but yeah. But I agree with that. However, the turkey itself is just a symbol of, Christmas time spent with family.
Okay, I wasn't gonna get symbolic with it.
Well, I'm just saying that's why you like turkey.
Yeah.
This song has none of those associations aside from the association with this fair show, and I think it's pretty dry, pretty bland, pretty pooey, and I think that's it.
Play 3/4 home. If you hear Imagine Dragons, cool. I mean, it takes like 3 minutes.
It'll get on the radio. It'll get on the radio, I think. I don't think it'll do that well, but I think it will get on the radio for a little bit of time, and I think that's exactly what they wanted to have happen with it.
Which is sad, because I'm like, they could do better, man. Like,
They
they're
could
not,
do a lot
They're
better,
not
yeah.
a bad band.
No, they could be
they're
really good, yeah.
but-
But they are choosing to be pretty mediocre. Speaking of,
mediocre. You're listening to the Good Ship Brothership.
oh, we never even did that. We never even said you're listening to the Good Ship Brothership. All aboard the Good Ship Brothership.
Toot toot.
Consider this the intro. Goodbye, everybody.
Ah, that.